Success is a chemical reaction. It's not magic, it's not destiny. It's biology, a cascade of hormones and neurotransmitters, a feedback loop written into your DNA. You've been told to think positive, to manifest your dreams. But what if the key wasn't in your mind, but in your molecules? What if you could trigger this reaction on demand?
Let's be honest for a moment. Just you and me. You feel stuck, don't you? It's a quiet ache, a feeling of being a spectator in your own life. You watch others ascend. You see their victories, big and small, celebrated in the bright, unforgiving light of your social media feed. Their new job, their finished project, their seemingly effortless confidence. And with each observation, a small, almost imperceptible part of you shrinks. It's not envy, not exactly. It's a far more corrosive feeling. It's the feeling of your own potential lying dormant, gathering dust, the silent scream of the person you were supposed to be. You've tried to break free. You've set the resolutions. You've bought the planners. You've listened to the gurus. You summon a surge of motivation, a brief fiery burst of energy. For a day, a week, maybe even a month, you feel the momentum. But then it happens. A setback, a rejection, a day where the energy just isn't there. The old inertia, like a familiar gravity, pulls you back down. The fire dwindles to an ember, and the ember cools to ash. And the voice of doubt, that patient, venomous whisper, returns. See, it's no use. You're just not one of them. You're not a winner. That voice, you think it's just a thought, a fleeting moment of self-criticism. But what if I told you it's more than that? What if I told you that voice is a symptom of a physical process? That with every surrender, every small defeat, you are participating in a neurological process called the loser effect. It's a brutal truth of biology. When an animal loses a fight, its brain chemistry changes, testosterone levels plummet, the density of androgen receptors in key brain areas decreases. The animal becomes more timid, less aggressive, more likely to lose its next fight. It is physically and neurologically primed for future defeat. And we, for all our poetry and philosophy, are still animals. That feeling of being stuck, that isn't the character flaw. It's the ghost of 1,000,000 years of evolution playing out inside your skull. It's your brain adapting to a narrative of defeat that you have been unconsciously feeding it. You aren't just feeling like you're losing. On a deep biological level, you are learning how to lose. You are practicing it. This is the cycle you are trapped in, a self-fulfilling prophecy written in cortisol and adrenaline. But a cycle can be broken. To break the cycle, we first have to see the machine. We have to understand the invisible architecture of our own self-sabotage. The great pioneer of the unconscious, Carl Jung, gave us a map. Let that sink in. You will call it fate. That feeling of being stuck, you've probably rationalized it. It's just not the right time. I'm not lucky. This is just who I am. Jung would call that a story you tell yourself to avoid a terrifying truth. The truth is that powerful, decisive forces are at work within you, just beneath the surface of your awareness. And as long as they remain in the dark, they own you. They steer your ship, and you, standing at the helm, believe you are the one choosing the course, even as you drift repeatedly onto the same rocks. This unconscious force, this hidden director of your life, is what Jung called the shadow. The shadow is everything you are but have refused to be. It's the repository for all the parts of yourself you've deemed unacceptable, ugly, or inconvenient. Your aggression, your ambition, your capacity for ruthless focus, your unfiltered desires. Society, your upbringing, your own sense of morality taught you to lock these things away. You were taught to be humble, to be agreeable, to not make waves. You packed all that raw, primal energy into a suitcase and shoved it into the basement of your psyche.
But here's the secret. The energy was never destroyed. It's been down there, fermenting, and it expresses itself sideways. It's the reason you feel a flash of bitter resentment when a friend succeeds. It's the reason you procrastinate on the very project that could save you. It's the self-sabotage that feels so baffling, so illogical. It is your disowned power working against you because you have refused to claim it and work with it. You think you need more motivation. You think you need a better strategy. What you truly need is to go down into that basement, open that suitcase, and reintegrate the very parts of yourself you were taught to fear. Because the monster in the dark might just be the hero you've been waiting for.
And this brings us back to biology. Because what happens when you decide to face that shadow? What happens when you decide just once not to turn away? You decide to enter the fight. Not a literal fight, but the battle against your own inertia. The small, deliberate, almost insignificant act of will. You choose to do the thing you know you should do, even when every fiber of your being screams for the comfort of inaction. You clean one corner of your messy room. You send one email you've been dreading. You hold your tongue in an argument instead of reacting emotionally. You win. A small, private victory. No one else sees it. There is no applause. But inside your brain, a chemical celebration begins. Your brain's reward system, starved for evidence of agency, floods with a tiny burst of dopamine. It's the correct signal, the more of this molecule. It's a whisper, but it's clear. That was good. Do it again. Simultaneously, a successful assertion of will, however small, signals to your ancient mammalian brain that you are not powerless. This triggers a subtle but crucial hormonal shift, a minuscule increase in testosterone production. This isn't about rage or ego. In this context, testosterone is the hormone of resilience, of confidence, of the willingness to engage with challenges.
And this is where the magic begins. This is the winner effect. That tiny chemical cocktail from your first small win makes the second small win infinitesimally easier. The dopamine makes you more motivated. The testosterone makes you feel slightly more confident, more capable of handling the stress of the task. So you do it again. You win another small private victory, another burst of dopamine, another microdose of testosterone. The feedback loop has begun. With each victory, the loop strengthens. Your brain physically begins to change. It starts to upregulate its androgen receptors, becoming more sensitive to the testosterone you're producing. This is neuroplasticity in action. You are literally building a brain that is better at winning. Your thinking becomes clearer, more strategic. Your ability to focus sharpens. Your tolerance for risk increases, not recklessly, but with a calculated sense of your own growing capabilities. You are becoming smarter, bolder.
The small battles start to feel less like battles and more like opportunities. The resistance that once felt like a brick wall now feels like a door you simply need to push open. You are no longer fighting against your own biology. You are steering it. You are harnessing the most powerful force in the known universe, the evolved drive of life to strive, to overcome, to grow. This isn't about thinking positive. This is about creating evidence for your brain to believe in. You are providing it with proof of your own competence, and it is rewarding you by rewiring itself for more success. You are alchemizing conscious action into biological confidence. You are no longer practicing how to lose. You are building the neurological architecture of a winner. But as you begin this journey, a strange thing will happen. You will start to see the world differently, and specifically, you will see other people differently.
Remember that resentment you used to feel?
That bitter sting when you saw someone else's success? You are about to understand it in a profoundly new way. Jung had a name for this too: projection. When we have disowned a part of ourselves, when we've locked our ambition and aggression in the basement, we don't stop seeing it. We simply stop seeing it in ourselves. Instead, we project it onto others. We see it magnified and often distorted in the people around us. The person whose confidence you call arrogance, they are wearing the self-assurance you refuse to claim. The person whose relentless drive you label as toxic hustle, they are embodying the ambition you've labeled as unworthy. The artist whose success you dismiss as luck, they are a mirror for the creative risks you are too afraid to take. Your resentments are a map. They're a treasure map pointing directly to the parts of your own shadow you have yet to integrate. Your projections are a confession of your own disowned potential. As you start winning your own small battles, the projections will begin to dissolve. The bitterness will fade, replaced by something else: curiosity, admiration, a recognition of a fellow player in the game. You stop seeing them as a judgment on your own inaction and start seeing them as evidence of what is possible. But this new path is not without its own dangers. The winner effect can be intoxicating. A string of victories can breed arrogance. It can make you feel invincible, and that is when you are most vulnerable. Because you will lose again. It is inevitable. The project will fail. The promotion will go to someone else. You will get sick. The market will turn. Life is a current of chaos, and no amount of winning can make you immune to its tides. And when you lose, the old biological programming will be waiting. The loser effect will knock at your door, whispering its familiar, seductive script of despair. This is the critical juncture. This is where biology must be met with philosophy. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They taught that the world is fundamentally unpredictable. You do not control the outcome. You do not control what other people do. You do not control the roll of the dice. What do you control? Your intentions, your actions, your response to the outcome. That is all, and that is everything. A loss to a Stoic is not a verdict on your worth. It is simply information. It is data. It is the world giving you feedback on your strategy. It is an opportunity to practice virtue, courage in the face of failure, temperance in managing your disappointment, justice in judging the situation fairly without blaming others, and wisdom in learning the lesson. When you suffer a defeat, you have a choice. You can allow the loser effect to take hold, to let the cortisol rise and the testosterone fall, to retreat into the familiar comfort of victimhood, or you can apply the Stoic frame. You can stand apart from the emotional sting of the loss and ask, what can I control right now? I can't change the outcome, but I can control whether I get out of bed. I can control whether I review what went wrong. I can control my decision to begin the next small battle. By choosing to act, by choosing to impose your will on the one thing you can control, your own next move, you hijack the biological response. You deny the loser effect its fuel. You prove to your ancient brain that even in defeat, you are not powerless. You are still an agent. This combination is the key. The winner effect is the engine. The Stoic frame is the steering wheel. One gives you the power to move forward. The other gives you the wisdom to navigate the inevitable storms. So, where does this leave you? Sitting here, listening to these words, with the echo of your own life story resonating within them.
This isn't a lecture. This is an invitation to conduct an experiment with your own life as the laboratory. The transformation does not begin with a grand, dramatic gesture. It begins in the quiet humility of the present moment. It is a rebellion waged in inches, not miles. It is the decision to push the chair back from your desk and do 10 push-ups, even if your arms shake. It is the decision to open that difficult book and read one single page, even if you don't understand every word. It is the decision to finally make that phone call you've been avoiding and to speak your truth with quiet clarity, regardless of the response. These are the arenas, these small, unglamorous, untelevised moments of friction between your resistance and your will. This is where you find the evidence your brain is craving. This is where you harvest the molecules of victory. You begin to integrate the shadow, that aggression you locked away. You discover it's not rage, it's focus. It's the ability to say no to distractions and yes to your purpose. That ambition you were taught was selfish, you realize it's the engine that will allow you to build something of value for yourself, your family, your community. You are not eradicating the part of you that knows how to lose, you're integrating it. You're accepting that the capacity for failure and the capacity for success are two sides of the same coin. The fear of failure no longer paralyzes you because you have a new philosophical frame. Failure is just data. It's the whetstone that sharpens the blade. This process is what Jung called individuation. It's the journey of becoming whole, of dropping the masks and the roles you've been playing and integrating all the disparate, conflicting parts of yourself into a unified, authentic self. You stop trying to be a good person and simply start trying to be a complete person. A person who has access to their anger as well as their compassion, their ferocity as well as their gentleness. A person who is no longer at war with their own nature. And then, one day, you'll look up from your life and you won't recognize the landscape. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. The lens through which you see everything has been ground to a new prescription.
The constant low-grade anxiety that used to be the soundtrack to your life is gone, replaced by a quiet hum of purpose. You no longer feel the need to broadcast your accomplishments because the validation is no longer external. The chemical reward of the win, the internal proof of your own agency, is enough. It is a private, sacred feast. You walk into rooms and you no longer feel like you have to prove you belong there. You simply belong. You belong to yourself. The identity of the person who is stuck, the spectator, the loser, it feels like a story about someone else, a character you once played. You can look back on that person with compassion, with understanding, but without attachment. You can thank them for carrying you this far, and then you can let them go. This is the rebirth. It's not loud, it's not arrogant. It is a quiet, tectonic shift in the foundation of your being. It's the feeling of coming home to yourself. You have made the unconscious conscious. You have faced the shadow. You have endured the losses. You have collected the wins. You have stopped calling it fate. You have realized that your life is not a story that is being told to you. It is a story you are telling, with every choice, every action, every single deliberate beat of your own reclaimed heart.
The journey we've talked about today is a long one. It's not a quick fix, but a fundamental shift in how you engage with your life. If this conversation resonated with you, if it sparked something in that quiet, knowing part of yourself, then subscribe and join us. We explore these ideas every week. But more importantly, I want you to take a moment for yourself.
Let it settle, and then share it in the comments below. Reading the reflections of others is part of how we make this journey together. Thank you for your time. Now go win your first small battle.